everybody hear me okay?
Let's get ready to rumble!
There we go. That wasn't copyrighted. Good evening, folks. How's everybody doing out there? Come on, guys. How's everybody doing out there? All right. All righty, folks. Well, my name's Scott Goslin. I am the general manager for Murphy Broadcasting, and I missed a meeting, so I'm back again this year. Oh, come on. I missed a meeting. I got voted in. Come on. All right. So, anyway, we'd like to welcome you back to another evening of excellence. And this year we're going to try something a little bit different. We're also going to include the roast of Pam Blake with this. No? All those jokes I wrote? Wow. Okay. All right. No, nothing bad? Okay. All right. All right, guys. We're going to go through a couple of things. Pam, I would like to thank you for not requiring us to wear a tie this year. Anybody wear a tie out there? Oh. All right. You guys wearing a tie. How many times were you asked how to get to the buffet? I must have heard it a half a dozen times last year. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of things here before I introduce Pam. Pam, am I doing the auction stuff or you?
Has everybody had a chance to get to the auction?
Has everybody had a chance to look at the silent auction items?
Well, please go revisit, because we're going to be closing it down not too long from now.
Very shortly, we're going to be closing that down.
Yeah.
We're going to go over a couple of the items that you have there, right? That's what I'm supposed to do here? That's what I have written down. Okay. We have 1 year pest control from Bug Emergency, 2 nights at the Avi, a couple of nights at the Golden Nugget. We have some tree trimming services from Robert Richards. We have 2 nights at the Pioneer, Route 66 basket from the Wagon Wheel. We have some memberships from Bullhead Athletic Club. We also have a box of 10-ounce choice ribeyes from Deco Foods. We have a product basket from 50 Shades Beauty Salon. We have 2 nights, 3 days at the Needles Best Western. Another gift basket from McKee Daycare. 4 tickets to the Chamber Haunted House. We've got 2 sets of those. Pink Jeep Tour. They've got a tour for bid up there. 3 bird photos. Those are actually bird photos that are framed, if I remember. 3 bird photos. 4 wildlife photos. We got a river sunrise photo. And a ton of photos, guys. Go look at the photos. We've got Old Barn truck photo. Navajo Eagle Dancer Sand painting. Biannual maintenance from River Valley AC. We also have Zuni Rain Priest Kachina. 2 of those, and I'm not going to try and say that again. Susan Swain. We have a 2-night stay at the Aquarius. Twosome Golf with Cart and Foothills Golf Club. We also have a $50 gift card to Pirates Cove. We have 2 of those. 2 golf rounds from Mojave Resort Golf. Coupon basket from the Needles Unified School District. Some more rounds of golf here with cart from Los Lagos. Wooden pumpkin from Just Perfect. Water cooler, watercolor.
Tiny Beach in the Gorge.
Tiny Beach in the Gorge. Bethany Hartwick. We have a crochet lace Route 66 shield from Eileen Hartwick. Aurora necklace and earrings from the Needles Women's Club. You want me to say these things, but you don't
That's
put
why
them
I'm
in
here.
Okay. A gift basket with certificate from Topak 66.
Actually, they didn't make it, so it's not there.
Okay, I was just kidding on that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Obviously, Pam has helped me out a whole bunch with this evening.
Forgot to mark things
Yeah.
out here.
But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn the evening over to Miss Pam Blake. Everybody, give it up for Pam Blake.
I really appreciate each and every one of you, especially all of you who bought the tables. We have 5 tables here. What? towards me. Now? Oh, okay. I'm used to yelling at kids. I'm not used to using a microphone. Okay, so thank you all that bought the tables, Dr. Paget, Palaverdi, people that came all the way from Blythe, I'm sorry, all the way from Blythe, Dr. Paget's table here, Tri-State people, and who's here? The Tri-State Health and Necro Foods, and the Needles Unified School District, and the Colorado River Medical Center over there. Did I miss anybody? I said Palo Verde College. I said them first. Thank you. They brought their own centerpiece. It arrived today on a red flyer wagon. Yeah. Okay, and some other things. Thank you, Scott, for coming back again. Yes, thank you very much. I just kind of wanted to recap. I'm not going to be up here very long because I know we have a program here, but I wanted to recap the Needles Chamber, what we've done this year. The haunted house, of course, last year, it is better this year, and it's coming up in 3 weeks. So please try to attend. They've got a special children's night they're going to do. So that will be great. We did a mixer last year in December. We're going to do that again this year in December. And looking forward to that. The boat show is always awesome. And we're going to be doing that again. But Billy B and Janice will be helping us again this year. Janice is a new board member. So welcome her. And welcome Mike Aarons from BLM on board. And welcome Eileen Hartwick. She's just recovering from a horse accident. So glad she's here. And then we did the Run to the Wall. We hosted that motorcycle event, and it's always exciting to have 300 motorcycles roar through here and feed them lunch. So we have some upcoming things that I want to just kind of mention. You can see these banners here. November the 12th, we're going to be doing the 90th celebration down in the park, and that's going to be huge. It's going to be a boat and car show. Lots of vendors and lots of things happening, music and beer and fun. And so be sure to come to that. But before that, November 2nd, we're doing a block party at Horizon Bank up there. So we want everybody to try to attend that. That's always fun, and there'll be vendors and food and lots of fun. So then October the 12th, I wanted to kind of mention a couple of things. We're doing Meet the Candidates. That's going to be at the El Garces. What time is that, Jen?
Doors open at 5:30 and the forum starts at 6.
Okay, 5:30 the doors open, the forum starts at 6. Okay. And then we're also doing, there's a groundbreaking for the new City of Hope building going on that day too, on October 12th, 11th. And then there's a lot of thank yous I want to do. Thank you, Jan. She helped me. She's been helping me so much lately. She set up all that needle stuff back there today. She's been right there with me, doing lots of stuff. So thank you so much. And I want to mention Dr. Paget being here, our mayor, our city manager, Rick Daniel and his wife Joyce, Sean Goodmanson. I'm probably leaving out people. Huh? Jeff, of course. Jeff, where are you? Oh, Jeff. Okay, Jeff, we were looking for music, and I was at Carol Westbrook's birthday party, and I heard this wonderful music, and I went over and said, Jeff, we need music at our dinner. Will you do it? And he says, okay. So, Jeff, yes. Our city councilor. So anyway, I love needles. I always will love needles. I was born in needles. Until I take my last breath, I will believe needles can survive, and needles businesses, I believe they can survive, and I always will do my best to make sure that we help needles businesses survive. So please, if we can do anything to help you, better help you, let us know. Let us know what we can do. I don't criticize us, people do. So just come see us and talk to us. And that's what we're here for. So anyway, I'm going to turn it back over to Scott. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Alrighty, folks. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have some awards here. And these are going to be brought up by Margo McKee. Margo, are you available? Thank you. Give her a hand, guys. Here we go.
I'm very honored. Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very honored to present the Community Recognition Awards tonight. I think they represent the best of everything that makes Needles the kind of community which it is. It is populated with citizens who were born here and chose to stay, new citizens who came here and recognized that it's a great place to live and raise a family, and citizens who were born here and chose to come home at some point in their life. I'm proud of my roots here, and much of who I am is because I was brought up here. Even those who have left think of Needles as home. We are a community who takes care of its people, who celebrates our successes, who's always ready to step up to help someone in need or to support a project to help its citizenry. A little more than a year ago, a group decided to build a new ball field, an endeavor which might take much longer in some places. Our kids were playing on that field the next season. This is one of the reasons why it is so difficult to choose a volunteer of the year. We have so many. Our nominee for this year is one of those we can always count on. I didn't know her very well until a few years ago, but when I met her, I recognized her immediately. Hers was one of those faces I had seen at countless community events. Hers was not one of those faces you might recognize from the newspaper, because she doesn't do what she does for public recognition. She's the kind of person who steps forward when you need help and quietly goes about accomplishing her goal. She's the kind of person you know you can count on, the kind who always does what she says she'll do. She's the kind of person you look to when you need something done, and done with a smile. A smile and no complaining. It's quite a combination. An almost lifetime resident of Needles, she's proud to call it her home. She's been employed at the Colorado River Medical Center for more than 30 years. She's usually the first one to whom they turn when a health fair, a meeting, or some other endeavor needs to be organized. There's not a parade held in Needles without Mary being in charge. She organizes and runs the Christmas parade every year, the rodeo parade, the centennial parade. She does it with the aforementioned smile, but also with a calm, panic-free manner. She's currently serving on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and was recently elected to the position of President-elect. She, of course, is totally in charge of our boat show parade and is now the guiding light and organizer of the haunted house. She will be found in that haunted house in some kind of gory, frightening makeup. All of this she does without a need for recognition or acknowledgement. The Needles Chamber of Commerce is proud to recognize one of their own, Mary Gonzalez, as our volunteer leader. likes costumes. In a small community such as ours, the school is especially important. It both reflects and improves our town. We're lucky to have a superintendent who realizes that the school must very closely be involved in the community and its programs. Since she arrived here, Dr. McNeil has been very active in the city. Good schools are what bring people here, and good schools are what keeps them here. She has been intimately involved in the reform efforts which are designed to improve the learning of our students and to make the Needles Unified School District a place you're proud to send your children to. We all know that change is difficult and that it is dependent on those involved. Our Educator of the Year is one such person. She began her career in Needles as an aide in a special education classroom. While working during the day and raising a young child, she put herself through college to get her degree, driving home from San Bernardino many times at midnight after class so that she would not miss work the next day. We're fortunate to have a person so dedicated in our employee. Her dedication and her willingness to work hard are still evident in her day-to-day life. She is herself a special education teacher today, which means that in addition to teaching in her classroom every day, she's also responsible for writing individual education plans for each of her students and for regularly monitoring their progress toward their goals. In addition, she heads the student study team at Vista Colorado School, which is charged with meeting the needs of students who are experiencing difficulty. In a small school district, people wear many hats, and there are never enough employees to do everything that you want to see done. As part of our reform efforts, a response to intervention program was wanted, but there wasn't enough money to hire someone else to run it. Lori has taken that on, and it is operational at our elementary school, serving 70 students who need additional help to catch up to their classmates. She tested all the students to determine both who was most needy and also what those needs were. She ordered materials, trained paraprofessionals to administer the intervention, and monitors the students, a full-time job in itself. All of this she does with a smile. She's dedicated to her students and to their success, a strong advocate for them. That child she was raising has finished college herself and has 2 young siblings at home. No one is more deserving to be our Educator of the Year than Lori Stevenson. Our Business of the Year recently celebrated its 35th year in business, providing a much-needed service to the area, but even more importantly, the owners give unflinchingly of their time and energy to enhance our community. One only has to look at their website to see that the quality of their service and the friendliness of their staff provide a positive view of Needles. Many customers comment on this and on the fact that they will return. Sadly, at the Chamber, people are more likely to write complaints than to write something positive. But the Chamber has never received anything other than glowing reviews of their experience there. As our business community dwindles, existing businesses are called on more and more to pick up the slack, funding as many events as were previously supported by many more businesses. The Wagon Wheel never says no. They say, how can I help? And not just with cash, although they give a lot of that. Susan and her employees have more than once used their kitchen to prepare food for events. Since purchasing the Wagon Wheel, Susan and Mike have dived right into community activities. They are chamber members, and Susan has served on the board of directors and as its treasurer. Mike was actively involved in the Lions Club. They are both members of the Needles Downtown Business Alliance, and both have served on the board. Susan has also served on the board of the Desert Communities Federal Credit Union. Their donations have supported many clubs as well as the school. They're very active supporters of the Needles Rodeo with both money and hours of volunteer time. The restaurant is one of the main supporters in promoting Route 66 here, and they're both members of the Route 66 Association for California. Susan has provided invaluable support to local organizations who are trying to navigate the difficult new health regulations. She's a loyal supporter of our popular boat and car show in February, and participants look forward to the delicious food she serves for our registration. They exemplify leadership in our community, helping businesses out and being involved to make Needles a better community. The Needles Chamber of Commerce is proud to present the Business of the Year Award to the Wagon Wheel Restaurant.
I don't always look like this. I usually have a Wagon Wheel shirt on. Thank you.
The Citizen of the Year is our highest honor, and it's awarded to a person who may fit into more than one of the categories, but they're deserving of so much more. This is a person who has contributed selflessly to the city by donating time, money, and service. This person has garnered the respect of the community through their good deeds. Our honoree is just such a person. I would never be able to list all of her accomplishments for you because she's modest and private about her own efforts. She cares deeply about her community and participates quietly just to improve it, often crediting others for projects in which she's involved. I've known her for years because our parents were friends. I was lucky enough to work with her mother when I first went to work in the Needles schools and learned so much from her. She has good genes because her mother was one of the finest women I've ever known. Some years ago, she presented a PowerPoint to the Needles City Council, which called to their attention the town's most visible eyesores and the fire hazards. Not waiting for someone else to solve the problem, she organized community cleanup days. She has tirelessly galvanized volunteers, and the result has been a noticeable difference in our town's appearance. People stopped counting when the trash bag count reached 1,000. It is an effort she continues to this day, and which has earned her the affectionate title, the Queen of Trash. also spearheaded the Reader's Digest contest, which generated likes all across the United States. Her enthusiasm spurred local residents, which resulted in a $5,000 win for Needles. Part of the winnings went to the Santa Fe Park Route 66 sign, which draws hundreds of visitors every year. The rest will go towards creating a Veterans Memorial sign in Needles. Her love of veterans causes also shows itself in her support for the Run for the Wall in May. And each Memorial Day, visitors to the Riverview Cemetery will find a newly cleaned up spread of grass with fresh flags at the gravestones. With help from volunteers, she makes sure this happens every year. Probably no one noticed last August when she returned to the cemetery to clean it up after one of our torrential monsoons. But for all of her notable contributions to Needles, her most important gift to her hometown is her enthusiasm, energy, and cheerful spirit, her kind and generous nature, her impeccable integrity, and her commitment to doing every job well and thoroughly. Please join me in applauding our Citizen of the Year, Kathy McConnell.
Everybody, please give a warm hand to Marvin McKee for getting up there and all this. Alrighty, there's a couple of quick things here, and let's see, put things in my pocket, and I can't find them after that. All right, we're getting ready to move on to a part of the program where we are going to have somebody speak to us about Route 66. I'll get into that in a moment. But we did want to give a special thank you to Let It Fly, Real Estate Flyers and Photography. Krista is over here doing the photography. Thank you, Krista. Alrighty, folks. This next portion of the program that we're going to be going into should be near and dear to everyone's heart. We're going to have an individual come up and talk to us a little bit about Route 66 and the phenomena that it has, not just here in the States or even California and Arizona, but that it has all over the world. We have a man who truly gets his kicks from Route 66, renowned author Jim Hinckley.
Keeping the spirit alive in Needles. It's really refreshing to see people with that kind of diligence and heartfelt sense of community. Route 66 in the Southwest is rather unique. The entire highway has developed an international following that's really quite surprising, and I don't think Cyrus Avery expected that when he established the U.S. Highway 66 Association in 1927. I just recently attended the first European Route 66 festival was held in Germany, and now they're planning a larger festival in Czechoslovakia. But the whole thing began with the railroad. Fred Harvey and the Santa Fe Railroad really started the tourism boom in the Southwest in 1900. However, situation, the railroad was only king for a short period of time because in 1900 there was a dramatic change beginning to sweep across the country. The automobile. The first automobiles in 1896, we held the first automobile race in the United States. To give you an idea how difficult that was, it was a 50-mile race in Chicago, and the blacksmith, the leader in that race, collapsed from exhaustion after driving his car for 30 miles. By 1903, we were driving cars coast to coast. By 1906, 1908, 1909, automotive companies, we had over 3,000 in the United States were advertising about seeing the open road. But it was adventurers. We needed roads to drive them on. And it was people like A.O. Westgard that pioneered this. This Norwegian immigrant kind of ushered in the prehistory of Route 66 by mapping a lot of the automobile roads and the trails that eventually became the National Trails Highway and later Route 66. This gentleman was rather amazing when you consider that in one particular season he traveled over 12,000 miles in just a few months. To put that in perspective, Edsel Ford, when he traveled west in 1915 to experience the great wonders of the Southwest on the National Trails Highway, on his way to the Panama Pacific Exposition in Chicago, he was quite pleased often to make 150 miles a day. He was even happier when that 150 miles didn't include mechanical failures. Building on the Route 66 tours in Arizona and New Mexico always had an allure. And we had what was called the automobilist in the first part of the century. Great adventures like Westgard and Edsel Ford, and even Emily Post, who wrote about her adventures in a best-selling book called By Motor to the Golden Gate, that was published in 1916. And she talks about her adventures in New Mexico. Lengthy explanations about what an amazing place it was like being in another country. One of the things that people had tremendous fear of in the era of the National Trails Highway was Lafayette Hill. And Route 66 has always been branded as the Main Street of America since the 1927 marketing campaign by the U.S. Highway 66 Association. But it's really more than that. It's the crossroads of the past and future, and it always has been. This road on Lafayette Hill was the National Trails Highway, and believe it or not, it also carried Route 66 until 1931. And this, before the National Trails Highway, this was part of the El Camino Real, a Spanish territorial road and then Mexican road, dating back almost 200 years of history on this one hill. But one thing that never had changed, even though the world was changing rapidly during this period with automobiles and different technologies, automotive technologies were advancing rather dramatically at this time. But one thing that languished was roads. This is a picture taken in Oakland, Arizona. You had all these wonderful, marvelous mechanical machines, but almost nowhere to drive them. Even by the dawning of Route 66, this is from the California Automobile Club in Southern California, talking about what you need to drive across the desert, say from Barstow to Needles. As you can see, it's kind of a lengthy list. It includes pistol, ammunition, a few other odds and ends to make the trip safe. What's interesting is, by this point, they said that you didn't need to carry gasoline. You only needed to carry a gallon of oil. But Route 66, the allure specifically in Arizona and New Mexico, Route 66 was knit from the nation's historic highways and trail system. But it was the allure of history and scenic beauty that brought tourists by the droves to Arizona, New Mexico, Needles, California. This is Pecos National Historic Park on the pre-1937 alignment of Route 66. When the Spanish arrived here in the late 16th century, they said this was the largest community they had encountered north of Mexico. This is also on the pre-1937 alignment of Route 66. You can see the picture at the bottom is from the National Old Trails Highway era. And the top picture is what this looks like today. Most people would pass this and never notice it. But this little corner of history, this was called the Pigeon Ranch. And it was named that for a French Canadian who established this who spoke Pidgin English. He built this as a hostelry on the Santa Fe Trail. Route 66 at this point is literally laid over the ruts of that historic trail. That building also served as a field hospital during the Battle of Glorieta Pass in the American Civil War. It was a tourist attraction when Emily Post and Edsel Ford passed. And overlooked by travelers today, right across the road from this is a stone-lined well that was part of the tourist attraction. No one knows how long that well has been there, but the Spanish wrote about using the waters there in 1590. You have cities like Santa Fe where the past and the present blended together seamlessly, and the culture, the Indians, the Spanish, fascinated early travelers. It fascinated early travelers on Route 66, and it still fascinates travelers from all over the world today because you have things like the Palace of the Governors, almost 400 years old, and you have delightful little time capsules like the El Rey, which had opened in 1936, 1 year before the highway was bypassed through Santa Fe. Edsel Ford was really fascinated with his trip. My dad always told me it's better to fill your head with useless knowledge than no knowledge at all. And in case this ever comes up on Jeopardy, this historic little village, this little pueblo, was the first place that Thomas Edison ever made a feature film in 1898. Route 66 is really a relatively modern phenomenon in Arizona and New Mexico. This is the Atacama Pueblo, and they've had continuous dwelling on this mesa for at least since the year 1200. Here's another idea of the antiquity that you'll find on Route 66. The bottom there, the little village of Cubero was bypassed in 1931 on a realignment of the highway. It also, there again, another opportunity to fill your head with useless knowledge. It's the only place on Route 66 that has a Confederate cemetery. No one's exactly sure how old the village is, but the history is very lengthy. Kit Carson set up his military headquarters here during the war and campaign against the Navajo. And just down the road from this bypass alignment is a little place called Villa de Cubero. And it became quite a haven for celebrities during the 1930s, 1940s. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz were regular visitors there. Vivian Vance, who was from Albuquerque, actually had a ranch near here. The scenic beauty, that was one of the drawing things of the Santa Fe Railroad, as well as the Harvey houses. They advertised and promoted to people. And it became a very big draw, especially in Arizona and New Mexico with the U.S. Highway 66 Association. They promoted the wonderful things you could see with short detours from Route 66. Places like the Grand Canyon and Sedona. The scenic wonders of the Painted Desert, Meteor Crater. People wrote about this on their excursions. Santa Fe Railroad established small depots and provided excursion services out into the desert so people could pick up petrified wood. Later, of course, this became a national park, and they frowned on such things. But it's opened the door for all kinds of people to make a living on the road. Route 66, as it grew in popularity, provided unprecedented opportunities for people to come up with creative, outside-the-box thinking. Santa Rosa blended their history with natural beauty to create some pretty large tourist attractions when Route 66 was the main street of America. One of the few attractions on Route 66 that is exactly what it is advertised to be. The Blue Hole. It actually is a big blue hole. It's the largest artesian well in the state of New Mexico, and during the years of CCC, they built a beautiful state park there. And Joseph's has the distinction of being in business for over 60 years on Route 66 in Santa Rosa, New Mexico. Route 66 and the National Old Trails Highway were provided an incredible economic opportunities, especially for small rural communities like Holbrook, Winslow, Needles. This is a very unique place, and its future is quite uncertain. It started out as a hotel in 1890 in Winslow and evolved with the changing times of the highway and the National Trails Highway as well as Route 66. And now it's marooned on the south side of the tracks, several miles off of Route 66. It recently suffered a fire, but it's quite an amazing historic place. And so places like Needles, when you struggle and worry about the places that you have, these are examples. You're not the only community facing these challenges and problems. Two Guns, Arizona is kind of an unlikely tourist attraction now. It was an unlikely tourist attraction when it started in the 1920s. It was built on the edge of Canyon Diablo when a bridge was put across in 1915 on the National Old Trails Highway and carried Route 66 after 1926. Earl Cundriff built the first gas station and tourist trap, if you will, at this location in 1923. Competition for businesses was always a challenge, and some people didn't settle their disputes in court. And this Earl Cundriff met his demise here in this doorway. He had leased some property to Harry Indian Miller, and over a property dispute, he shot and killed Cundriff here. And interestingly enough, even though Cundriff was unarmed at the time, Miller was acquitted. He was later arrested for defacing the grave because he destroyed Cundriff's tombstone. And he went to New Mexico, Arizona and New Mexico line, and opened another trading post called the Canyon of the Seven Devils. And on the heels of Cundriff and Indian Harry Miller, the next generation of Two Guns was Remy Jim Giddings, a very colorful and fascinating fellow who had a great practical joke sense of humor. He liked to do things like put speakers in the outhouse. He had a double-seat outhouse. And he liked to see if he could scare people out with their pants around their ankles. And he had a cemetery out back of the trading post that he told people that were salesmen who would stop by and try to sell him things. And in the top picture, you can see that surprisingly on Route 66, it's even the empty places that draw tourists. Those are the ruins of Remy Jim's trading post on the edge of Canyon Diablo. I was there last spring with a group from the Netherlands. And of course, if we want to talk about Route 66 in Arizona and New Mexico, we can't forget Winona. We were told not to in the song. Nothing much has changed there. It's still just a gas station. This is getting a little closer to home. You can see the picture there of Sitgreaves Pass. That carried Route 66 traffic until 1952. And it was the National Old Trails Highway from 1913 forward. And there was a lot of history on this. There again, the entire evolution of the road is encapsulated in these little stretches of highway. In 1909, and I have a feeling that alcohol had something to do with this, but some business owners and the owner of the Arizona Republican newspaper in Phoenix, Arizona, started having some heated discussions about the viability of steam-powered cars over gasoline-powered automobiles. So they instituted a race from Los Angeles to Phoenix over the course of the National Old Trails Highway in 1914. The first race was held in 1909. The race was officially named the Desert Classic, but it quickly became known as the Cactus Derby. What's really important about this race is the Old Trails Garage in Needles, and then the open road section. By 1914, the last year of the race, it featured the big boys, Lewis Chevrolet, Barney Oldfield, all passed down the course of this road. Of course, it was dirt at the time, but it put the spotlight solidly on communities like Needles and Kingman here in the Southwest. The next picture there is Ed's Camp. A few of you might be familiar with that if you've driven through the past. This kind of begins the story of my association with Route 66. And you can cue the Twilight Zone music at just about any time here. We made our first trip west in 1959 on Route 66. And in 1966, my father was a Navy World War II veteran and then Coast Guard. And I can't make this up. I'm not that imaginative. He had grown tired of anything to do with the Great Lakes or the oceans. He folded a map and threw a dart with Yucca, Arizona. So we moved west on Route 66 in the summer of '66. And my first job was actually working up at Ed's Camp for Ed Edgerton, taking care of his tomato gardens. Ed's Camp is really kind of a microcosm of Route 66 evolution on how people adapted to the changing times. Ed came out from Michigan in 1919, hoping to strike it rich in the gold mines there at Oakman and Gold Road. Problem is, he found out that the people who were making money were the mine owners, not the miners. Where Ed's Camp is located, when you drive by, if you look at the old trailer court, you'll notice a wrought iron section that has LM on it. That stands for Little Meadows. This was an oasis for travelers, starting with Native American trade routes. And the first European notation of this was found in Garces in 1776. Travelers on the National Trails Highway would camp at this location. Well, Ed set up camp here. And Ed, though, had a brilliant idea. So he got some money from the Gates family, who owned Central Commercial at Oakman and Kingman, and he set up tall sawhorses with drums for gasoline and began selling gasoline at this location. And it became such a profitable business for him that he started adding cabins, and he built a station and eventually a restaurant. About 9 or 10 years after he had moved to this location and began building his business, he started to get a little bit nervous and decided that maybe he shouldn't just squat on the property, maybe he should purchase it. And he continued to run this until the highway was bypassed in 1952. But by this time, Ed had developed quite an international reputation as a geologist. So even after the highway was bypassed and the restaurant closed and the cabins closed, he maintained a lucrative business selling produce, namely tomatoes, which he was famous for, and rock samples. There's another good view from Sitgreaves Pass, Snell Summit Station at the top of the pass. And then, of course, you can see an early view of the National Trails Highway and Route 66 at Gold Road. And there again, a great little bit of useless knowledge for you. This section of the road is the sharpest grades, the sharpest curves and steepest grades found anywhere on Route 66. And what's interesting is, by the time they paved this, they had shaved the grade down by 7% from what it was when the era of the National Trails Highway. Scaring people. It's an important part of business in the desert. Telling them that there's no water, no gas. Trading posts became very big for tourists. Some were real, some were made up. One of my favorite signs that in the collection of Joe Sonderman, not quite politically correct today, but near Gallup, New Mexico, during this era, there was a line of signs down the highway, like Burma-shave signs, advertising attractions, things you could see, trying to get people off the highway to stop at the Blue Water Trading Post. See live jackrabbit, see live rattlesnake. And then the last sign said 300 yards, see live Indian. For the modern explorer on Route 66, there's a lot of things that draw the international traveler as well as the domestic. It's a combination of history, scenic beauty, and being allowed a sense of opportunity to play Indiana Jones, if you will. This little bridge is on the National Trails Highway, which is in between Holbrook and Winslow, Arizona. I'm quite glad the state of Arizona spent a great deal of money to renovate this bridge recently, but it's a very obscure little thing. It was on the National Trails Highway. That's actually the first bridge authorized by the state of Arizona, October of 1912. In the beautiful little canyon below it, Chevelon Canyon, there's a beautiful petroglyphs park there. The bridges tell the history of Route 66. They provide the idiosyncratic nature that gives you that time capsule feel when you travel. One of the great endangered aspects of Route 66 today, number one, is your auto courts, especially pre-war. And you folks in Needles are blessed to have two of those, the Palms and the Robinson Court. It's extremely rare to find two of those in any community. Most communities don't have one. But it's the bridges. Over 98% of the bridges on Route 66 right now are scheduled for replacement or demolition. And if we lose these, you can see it changes the entire nature of the road. And few places show this better than here on the Colorado River. The bridge that now carries the pipeline across the river was the National Trails Bridge, 1916. And it was the first automotive bridge at this point built. The only other one crossing for automobiles was at Yuma on the ocean-to-ocean highway. And then the top picture is the railroad bridge that was built in 1898. That arch bridge carried Route 66 traffic until 1947, and then it was converted, the railroad bridge was converted to carry Route 66 traffic. And here's another great opportunity to fill your head with useless knowledge. The Grapes of Wrath, you'll see that arch bridge. Henry Fonda's crossing that bridge in the movie from 1940. The last bridge to carry Route 66 traffic is currently the eastbound bridge of I-40. In the movie Easy Rider, you'll see Peter Fonda crossing that with the old bridge in the background. World War II had a very dramatic effect on the nation as a whole, but Route 66 specifically. And here in the Southwest, one of the primary contributions and changes to the road was because of the remote nature of the area. It allowed for the building of massive military encampments, airfields. We had near Goffs and stretching into Needles and all the way across the desert, of course, the General Patton's training grounds. Kingman, Arizona was home to the Kingman Army Airfield. And during World War II, this was the largest flexible gunnery school in the world. We had trained military crews from the United Kingdom as well as the United States and China, B-17s, B-24s, navigators. And after the war, this became a storage depot. And in 1947-48, it was the largest concentration of military aircraft in the world. If you're familiar with Kingman, it would be roughly a line of airplanes. This line would stretch from the airport entrance to about just I-40, which is somewhere around 5 miles of planes lined up like this. And there's some great celebrity association tied in with all of this. The aircraft control tower operator at Kingman Army Airfield was a gentleman named Clayton Moore. He later became famous on TV for running around in tight pants, on a white horse, wearing a mask, and yelling, "Hi-ho, Silver." Route 66 was literally the main street of America for more than 90 years. It funneled traffic through the heart of communities like Albuquerque. And as a result, these communities were forever transformed. And Needles was just one, Kingman. Every community was terribly affected by the bypass of this road, as was Needles. To give you an example of that, in Holbrook, the first year that Route 66 was bypassed, 40% of their businesses closed, service stations and garages. Tucumcari, New Mexico, same story. Route 66 was Main Street. In 1959, 2,000 cars a day flowed down this street. Of course, this is kind of partial to me as Kingman, Arizona, my adopted hometown. And you can see the changes on the same street from the era of the National Trails Highway about 1924 and then in the mid-50s. Another great little bit of trivia for you is Buster Keaton. He stayed at the Beale Hotel in Kingman and filmed a little movie called Go West. And for Route 66 fans, what makes this movie quite interesting is the final climatic scene of the movie. He filmed it in Los Angeles at 7th and Broadway, which a year later would become the original terminus of Route 66. He couldn't get permission from the city of Los Angeles, so he just paid the fine and staged a full cattle stampede at 7th and Broadway, downtown Los Angeles. Every single community, Williams, Grants, and every one of those communities was dramatically altered. But it wasn't just the bypass of I-40 that destroyed communities. Route 66 was always in a state of constant evolution, trying to keep up with changing times. When this book was written in 1946 as a guide, Indy, a very fascinating little town right across the Texas line in New Mexico, was thriving, and Glen Rio was just basically a small little railroad stop. Indy has a little neat little part of history. It's the last place in New Mexico that horse-drawn cavalry was used to round up rustlers. In 1956, Route 66 was realigned, and in 4 years, Indy had a population of 0. Glen Rio thrived. Their population rose to almost 500 people. There's a picture of Indy today, one of my favorites. Modern restrooms. And you can see the pre-1956 alignment of Route 66 stretching across New Mexico. The ghost towns, what's really interesting about Route 66 today are the ghost towns. It always fascinates me to be in the middle of nowhere, such as Indy, New Mexico, and to find a busload of Chinese tourists taking photographs. Glen Rio really blossomed and thrived. Glen Rio had its origins in 1905 as a railroad stop, and it became an agricultural center. With the advent of the trail system, the Ozark Trails Highway specifically, they built a very strong service industry. This was a town by 1920 that had a hotel, a weekly newspaper, hardware stores. The post-World War I collapse in agricultural prices forced them to depend more and more on that service industry. And then with the advent of Route 66, the town really began to thrive. One of my favorite little places, this is literally on the Texas-New Mexico border. And great marketing here. These folks put up a sign that said on one side, last motel and gas station in Texas. On the other side, it said the first. The town had survived all of these things. And with the bypass of Route 6 of the town in 1974 by I-40, in 12 months, the population had dropped to 5, and they had no operating businesses. The resurgent interest in Route 66, the era of Renaissance, for communities that can harness this, for communities that can use this as a catalyst for revitalization and development, and build a sense of community and community purpose, the transformations can be just absolutely dramatic. Tucumcari Carry is an excellent example. With the bypass of the city with I-40, their population dropped by 30% in 10 years. Today, they're leading just an incredible grassroots movement that's transforming this. The bottom picture there with the car is from the Roadrunner Lodge. This was a motel complex that had been literally abandoned and left to homeless people for 5 years, and a family has been putting this back together. The Blue Swallow Motel, built in 1939, is now one of the most photographed locations on Route 66. It has even been featured on the National Geographic calendar about Route 66. And the Blue Swallow is another example of the unique nature of Route 66. It's the last real bastion of mom and pop enterprise. And the blending of the past and the present and the future are so seamless on Route 66. Just as 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago with family-run mom-and-pop businesses. The Blue Swallow Motel. The owners left very lucrative corporate jobs, took on the task of putting this thing together. And Kevin Mueller told me he has never worked so hard for so little money and enjoyed his life as much as he does now. And now his son and his son's wife have joined him as a family business. The Trading Post still thrives along Route 66, just as it has for 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80 years, attracting tourists. This is the Arizona and New Mexico line at Laughlin. There's been Trading Post operating here for over 110 years. Neat little tidbits that you'll find all along Route 66. And sign geeks, people who just travel Route 66 looking for interesting signs. Those are some of the strange people you meet on Route 66. One of the most amazing things about the Route 66 people is how sometimes they can be fascinated, obsessed with the strangest things. And I'll be the first to admit, I have a great fascination and interest and almost obsession with things Route 66 related. But I was quite amazed to find a group of people at a conference in California that were comparing asphalt and trading it, and actually being able to identify where it came from and what year that alignment was in operation. These pictures are taken in Albuquerque. They instituted a very, very innovative Main Street program, outside the box thinking, in private and community partnerships to transform the Central Avenue corridor with tremendous success. The Chemo Theater, there's 1927. Lindy's at the bottom has a very unique distinction. It's one of the few places where Route 66 crosses itself. The pre-37 alignment of Route 66 runs north and south, and the post-37 alignment runs east and west. And one more great little tidbit, just in case you're ever on Jeopardy. This is the last of the highway house motels. There used to be a chain of these in the Southwest with only one in California, and that was in Needles. And the gentleman who had this chain decided that there was too much competition, so he went into building housing developments in the Southwest. His name was Del Webb. This is Gallup, New Mexico. Another great example of how the past and present blend together seamlessly on this road. The El Rancho Hotel in Gallup has given a new lease on life. A few years ago, this was scheduled for demolition, and it's been brought back to life. It was built by D.W. Griffith's brother, and I think that might have had something to do with the fact that a lot of movies were filmed in the Gallup area. This hotel became the official headquarters for these film companies. And Richardson's Trading Post there is exactly what the sign says. And it's been one family owned since 1913. And the one gentleman who manages the place today just had his 94th birthday. Anybody familiar with this movie? It was filmed at this Trading Post, and they set up a movie set to enhance it. And this is where Harry Indian Miller set up his Trading Post after leaving Two Guns. This movie, Ace in the Hole, is all filmed on Route 66 in Arizona, New Mexico. And this is another reason that Route 66 has such name recognition. It's not the oldest, it's not the most scenic highway in America, but it's always, always had the best press and best publicity. From the movie Cars, we have a link for the modern era that attracts a younger generation to Route 66. The Jackrabbit Trading Post actually dates to 1949 and is still in business. This is another example of how if we lose our bridges, it changes the whole nature of Route 66. Quinero Canyon, this bridge was built in 1931. Route 66 is often today called a time capsule, a living, breathing time capsule, with just an overlay of Disneyland. But really, it's more of a series of time capsules within a time capsule. And this is one of the essence, what attracts the international traveler. They're looking for an authentic American experience. They're looking for natural beauty, and they're looking for history. I'll let you read this, but the courthouse in Holbrook has just been converted to a museum. The National Park Service Route 66 Corridor Preservation Program issued a grant for roof restoration. And if you ever find yourself in Holbrook, I highly recommend to stop here to see the jail. It's very different. And this invitation put Holbrook on the map. President McKinley issued a reprimand because this invitation was sent out by the superintendent of schools with children home to their parents. This is a great success story on the road, like with your El Garces in Needles. This is the La Posada, and it too had been gutted by the railroad and turned into office. And then it had been gutted again and scheduled for demolition before Alan Affeld stepped in and renovated the entire property over the course of time. And he still hasn't stopped with this. He now has the largest private solar field in the state of Arizona. And this year he's planning a heritage garden to start supplying a lot of the vegetables and things for the restaurant. And this has been recently rated as one of the top 10 railroad hotels in the United States. And it's the people on Route 66. One of the successes of every single community that has turned their community into a destination for visitors. Every one of them have one thing in common: a personality, a face. Probably one of the most famous people on Route 66 in the world, Angel Delgadillo. This gentleman is a small town barber. His family came from Mexico during the Mexican Revolution. Angel just turned 88 years old. Still cuts her hair every day in his barbershop. And when his town was bypassed and he watched it die on the vine, he said, "We're not doing this." And he called a meeting at the Copper Cart Cafe in Seligman. And that became the Arizona Historic Route 66 Association, the first of its kind in the nation. And that gave birth to the Route 66 Fun Run. And he petitioned the state of Arizona to have that designated historic byway. Seligman today, in his barbershop specifically, is a major attraction. It's absolutely amazing. Europeans, Australians, people traveling the road have developed, what do you call, kind of a destination, if you will. They stop shaving, just the men, not the women. They stop shaving when they fly to Chicago, just so Angel can give them a shave and a haircut. Tour buses of people show up to do this. He rides his bicycle to work in the morning to cut people's hair. He's done Super Bowl commercials, Playboy magazine interviews. One person, a grassroots initiative. To give you an idea, though, some communities do it and some don't. If you get a chance, compare Seligman and Ash Fork. Ash Fork has far more to offer. It's a very fascinating town. It languishes. It's empty. It's dead. Seligman, you can't get down the street without it. It's like Times Square at midnight New Year's Eve. Some of the great attractions that have survived in the modern era. Grand Canyon Caverns has evolved with Route 66, discovered in 1927. The initial tourism there started out with some cowboys who hatched up a brilliant scheme when they found out tourists could pay them a dime to see the caverns. So they put up a hand-operated winch, gave them a torch, lowered them into the cave, told them to pull on the rope when they wanted to come out. And among themselves, they called it dope on a rope. And one night over drinking, they were talking about how if people are willing to pay a dime, I wonder if they'd pay a quarter, and they did. And it's evolved now into Grand Canyon Caverns, and it fell on extremely hard times after the bypass. But John McNulty and his son Sean transformed this, and this is becoming what it was in the 1950s, the Route 66 resort. The bottom picture is Crozier Canyon Ranch, one of the oldest ranches in northern Arizona. And this too evolved with the highway and became a major resort during the era of National Trails Highway and into the era of Route 66. Hackberry, a few people are familiar with Hackberry. The Hackberry General Store is one of the most photographed locations on Route 66. But people miss the town of Hackberry right across the tracks. And they're working on changing that, but this gives you another example of things you can build on to bring people to your community. The Hackberry School built in 1919. It was the last two-room schoolhouse in Arizona, closed in 1990. Kind of proud of this. Kingman, in 2014, we hosted the Route 66 International Festival. And before I go too far on this, I want you to know Kingman is slow to capitalize on Route 66. We're doing it. We're making tremendous progress and picking up speed. But don't feel like the Lone Ranger and when you get frustrated with your community that it needs to be doing more. It's taken a while. We're almost an overnight success 30 years in the making. The Beale Celebrations just was bought by a Swiss investor and converted to an event center. It was a former J.C. Penney's building, and before his transformation, it was as boring as mashed potatoes on a white paper plate. And then we fortunately partnered with the Historic Electric Vehicle Foundation to create the world's only electric vehicle museum. This is kind of personal. When my dad moved out here in the summer of '66, he bought some property on sight unseen that was on Route 66 at the bottom of the valley. This is our homestead. We built that garage by tearing down the old Episcopal church in Kingman. And I'll be the first to admit, when I first moved out here from places like North Carolina and Tennessee, and we moved out there, and we would do things like not knowing better. We would go to Needles in the summer for a picnic. I thought this was the place they had warned me about in Sunday school. But I've kind of grown used to the place. Cool Springs is another example of what can be done and how things can be transformed. The top picture gives you an idea what it looked like in the mid-1930s. In 1966, the complex burned. Then for the movie Universal Soldier, they rebuilt it and blew it up. And then a property developer from Chicago bought the facility and rebuilt it as it appeared. It's become quite an attraction on the road. And of course, Oakland. See, there actually used to be things there that besides burrows. See the timeless nature of the road that people are looking for? How the past and the present just almost blend together seamlessly on Route 66. It becomes difficult sometimes to tell what year it is. And people are so fascinated by this. A lot of the Route 66 travelers will carry a book called Route 66 Lost and Found, just to compare scenes from then and now. Topok Resort, then and now. Quite a transformation. But this also gives you an idea that the road evolves, things change. So as you develop an attraction or try to draw people to your community, preserving the past is important, but don't become myopic. Think outside the box. What can you do to attract people that blends the past, the present, and the future? I've been traveling Route 66 off and on since 1959, and like I say, pretty much everything in my life has been tied to this road. And it's almost scary. I learned to ride a bicycle on the open road section. I learned to drive a truck on the open road section. And when my wife and I were courting some 35 years ago, I'd come in from a ranch in Chino Valley, and I drove a 1946 GMC truck. I drove Route 66 because they didn't want me on I-40. But it's amazing, and I honestly believe that the best of Route 66 is more popular today than any time in its history. And for communities that can harness this resurgent interest, the transformation can be extremely dramatic. And Galena, Kansas is one of my poster child for just this. And I won't tie you up, but I will answer any questions you have. But I will say this: if Galena, Kansas can be transformed, any community can. Galena is a poster child for a town that has less of a chance than a snowball and needles on the 4th of July. Their population plummeted from 35,000 to 3,200. They had one functioning street light. They're on the edge of the nation's largest toxic Superfund cleanup site. North of town, they tell people grow whatever you want, but don't eat it. And in 5 short years of really dramatic concerted effort, creating partnerships. They have all new street lights. They have had 4 restaurants open. They've had a state-of-the-art nursing and surgery center open in the town. The place is being reborn. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Jim Hinckley, everybody. Hope everybody had a great evening. Thank you all for coming out.